If you are not on the quest for knowledge, my friend, you are lost, because knowledge is such a vital thing for you to progress as a human being. I've been producing a lot of science videos in the past month and a half, and I have loved producing these videos. I've loved obtaining the knowledge. All the people around me sort of, I don't want to be arrogant and egotistical, but some people around me do sort of admire the fact that I am so dead set on obtaining a lot of scientific knowledge, and they themselves, they seem to be interested, but they just feel like that science isn't the thing for them. They were always too academically dumb in school. School made them feel that way, so they think they can never ever understand that, which is another problem with the school system, may I add. It just makes you feel really dumb, even if you're not, because you do have the capacity as a human being to learn anything and everything that you could possibly want to. That's why knowledge is so important. Because you didn't do well in school, don't think that knowledge isn't the thing for you. You think that there may be more hope in other areas. If you don't do well in school, just be a builder, be a construction worker, find and carve your own path in life. That's great, but don't get disheartened. If you want to learn stuff that isn't necessarily cool or isn't necessarily interesting to other people, do it. Just obtain that knowledge and get an understanding of what you find cool, because that will give you a lot of pleasure. I don't necessarily get a lot of the views on the science-based videos that I produce because many people don't give a toss about science, which is understandable, but some people do, and I make those videos for them because they want to obtain that knowledge, and I want to obtain that knowledge too from doing all the research, compiling all that research, synthesizing it into one easy to understand, hopefully, video, and then the normal people can watch it. Even if you don't care about science, I would honestly say I prefer you to watch that, at least as a starter, to see if you at least would find it somewhat interesting, would find it somewhat invigorating to your brain, than just doom scrolling on TikTok and YouTube Shorts and Instagram, because it would be a start, it would be somewhere. There may be something that you are interested in. If you realise that, oh yeah, I quite like this, let me read up on this, then that's fine. You don't have to care about science, but just at least be on a quest for some kind of knowledge. Science is my area of interest. Your area of interest might be a particular branch of sports science, for instance. You may quite like engineering of planes or cars or boats, whatever you fancy. Read on it, educate yourself on it, because while people in school, they can do engineering, they can do biochemistry, they can do chemistry, they can do all the other stuff that they get educated on when they go to university, if you are interested enough in that thing, you will outwork them, even if they are just doing it for the money, for instance. Yeah, they have more qualifications, but if you put yourself out there, if you network enough, if you prove your knowledge, if you prove your skills, you will find a way. Because working on something, doing something that you love on a daily basis will make you happier, will make you a lot happier than what your current situation may be. If you are doing what you love for the majority of your day, great, that's perfect. But I still highly encourage you to read up on things and stay with the times. AI is a massive thing right now. People are saying that people won't have to work ever again because AI is going to take over the world, and it'll be able to do all the office jobs, it'll be able to do all the manual labour jobs, because it will become so advanced. What if there was a certain branch of jobs where that simply couldn't happen, and you perhaps were interested in that particular branch of things, or you thought, yeah, that seems like quite a cool thing, AI can't do that, let me educate myself on it. You have to stay with the times, because you may be interested in the engineering of cars. Soon enough, maybe AI will take over the designing, manufacturing, and everything that happens inside of the car production process. So all of that knowledge becomes redundant because it's not needed, because AI, it's not susceptible to irrational human error, and so it's better for the world, society as a whole, to use that than a normal human being, because it will produce better quality goods potentially. So you do have to read up and keep up with the times, especially on your quest for knowledge, because that will give you a competitive advantage. And while the things that interest you may be things like car engineering, there are going to be other things out there that interest you. You may be interested in car engineering, but you also may be interested in biochemistry. I absolutely adore things like F1 and cars. Always have done ever since I was a kid. And I was thinking of going into things like car engineering, and while specifically F1 cars, that may never ever be overtaken by AI. It probably won't be, to be honest, because it is such specialised, it's so advanced, and all that other fun stuff. But I thought I quite like science as well, especially the scientific chemical side of this specific engineering of these cars. So why don't I educate myself more in that field as well? And while it could definitely help me in this field a little bit, I also educate myself on another topic. They're two separate things, but at the same time, AI is less likely to be able to take over biochemical research, research of the human body, human anatomy, and plant processes, than taking over general car engineering is. Because the AI is not going to be able to analyze your body as well as another human is. It's not going to be able to do tests, run tests. Like, AI is not going to be able to do that as well as a human is. Not all jobs are going to be overtaken by AI. That's got to be sort of considered straight off the bat. And you have to educate yourself in the jobs that may not be taken over by AI if you're interested in them. If you're not interested in them, don't do it just because you're panicking. You pick the first option because that'll be fine, that'll be safe. AI can't do that. Let me educate myself on that, gain a competitive advantage and network, and people will hire me in that specific field. Don't do that, because there will be other things out there that you will discover and you will find that will interest you, and you have to be on the quest for knowledge for that sort of thing. The quest for knowledge is a never-ending quest, and if you are not on that quest, you are lost. You can't diverge from the path, diverge on the path of complacency. You must stay on the quest for knowledge, because it is infinite. It doesn't end. No matter how old or grey you get, I highly recommend knowledge is such a vital thing that is still a part of your life, no matter where you are, what your circumstances, because knowledge is almost the way out. The path of knowledge, the quest for knowledge, can be the light at the end of the tunnel for most people. The quest for knowledge looks different for absolutely everyone. Someone can be at the biggest pit, the biggest rut of their life that they've ever been in before, and knowledge can be the way out. They attain the knowledge, they get out of their rut, and they transform their life for the better. They were in their rut, they had bad mental health, they didn't really know what to do themselves. They were feeling sad, scared, not in control of how their life was currently going. They read a few books, they looked up things online, and did some research on the internet, which is not something that many people do. They often decide to look at social media, things like TikTok. If you use the other aspects of the internet, that can definitely be to your benefit as well. They do some research on that, they find some books, they read them, they buy them, they read them, and their life has changed because they've obtained knowledge. That's not going to be the only thing. You need knowledge. You need the knowledge to be able to implement and take those actions. Knowledge without action is just wasting time, and action without knowledge is simply just stupidity, because you don't really know what you're doing at that point in time, and that's not going to be good if you are trying to gain an advantage over people that may not obtain knowledge, may get sort of overtaken by AI in the future. I don't think that AI is going to take over the world. I think that it will play a massive part in how society pans out in the future, but realistically it will take over some jobs. It will take over the role of many industries. Entrepreneurs are not seemingly sort of away from this issue, while some industries, they'll get overtaken. The production of those things will be much better off with AI, but the jobs of some entrepreneurs, the roles that some entrepreneurs have, will also be overtaken by AI. While entrepreneurs, their one main competitive advantage is the ability to creatively think and come up with innovative ideas. All the other stuff that they do, all the internet entrepreneurs that you see, that may be in the future, if AI does become intelligent enough, artificially intelligent enough, all the other things that they do could end up becoming redundant. And all that they have as a comparative advantage is the ideas that they come up with, which is, while that can be useful, while they may get paid somewhat of a percentage of an amount that they were before, for those specific ideas, AI could do all of the rest of the jobs that they did better anyway. So entrepreneurs are not safe from this. They still need to educate themselves. They can't get complacent as well, because of things like the rise of AI, because of the things like the rise of certain industries that they could act upon, that they could profit off of in the future. It's a very interesting thing. I've always loved knowledge. I look on the internet so much just for scientific knowledge and understanding, and while there's a place for things like YouTube and movies, TV shows even, you can obtain a little bit of knowledge from those as well. You have to read some books, at least in your lifetime, to be able to obtain a lot of knowledge, because books, there's so many words on a single page. You don't get that amount of density of words on an internet sort of like the way you're obtaining knowledge on the internet. It's a lot more laid out, aesthetically pleasing for your brain to understand. When you are reading a book, it's information overload, line, all information, all stuff that you can implement and understand and take with you on your quest for knowledge. It's so much more knowledge dense. That's the word I'm going to use. Knowledge dense than the stuff that you may find on the internet. So that is also a very useful tool. One TV series that will take you 20 hours or something, maybe probably even like way more, 60 hours, 70 hours, 100 hours to watch. If you read a book in 5 hours, it's much more knowledge dense, much better of a time investment than watching that for some bit of education. Same thing with like YouTube video playlists. You could read a book about science and you'd obtain the exact same amount of knowledge that you would if you watched every single one of the science videos that I produced. And there is a place for these internet sort of YouTube content. It can be a lot easier to understand, and so the time that you take to understand that stuff when you're reading the book may end up be longer than the time it takes to have this sort of easy sort of spoon-fed knowledge that is a lot more easy to understand than if you really have to sort of dig deep into your brain to actually get that knowledge out of the really knowledge dense book that you may be reading about science or whatever. Just an interesting thing about I have. But if you are not on the quest for knowledge, if you've diverted off the path onto complacency, you are lost. You cannot be the person that stops reading once they graduate, because you have to be on the quest for knowledge for the end of your life. When you make that decision to obtain knowledge or not obtain knowledge, once you graduate, it's the path of complacency or it's the path of knowledge. Which one do you choose? Thank you for staying to the end of this video. If you have, I recommend subscribing as well, because I produce a lot of content like this. And I also love this community of young tribal people who are willing to improve themselves so much more than they already have. And good luck.